The preseason is upon us, and the San Francisco 49ers have a lot of decisions to make with the roster. So, throughout this video, we're going to break down the decision-making process while also looking over some of these players in action. One of the things to note, Jamal Alden and Elgin Armstead will get very minimal touches. Nate Hill will get very minimal touches throughout the entire preseason. Basically, the first quarter of the first game is really the only time that we're going to see them. Outside of that, it'll be extremely minimal. No point in risking them when they are mainstays and they just need to get into football shape rather than being on the field and taking too many unnecessary hits. Which means that we're going to see a lot more of Jomon Mason, Kris Arnold, who are going to be competing for that number 2 versus slot wide receiver role. We're also going to be able to see things like Bernie Lauderdale a little bit, but we're going to see a lot of Tevin Culliver. We're going to see a lot of Jay Ajayi, Denard Robinson, and Martwan Austin as they try to figure out the running back by committee at the back end of the order. At quarterback, we're going to see a lot of Brady Johns because despite the fact that they won the Super Bowl last season, the 49ers are not completely in the position to say that Brady needs to sit out the preseason. He's a very good quarterback, but he has a lot of room to grow, and for a young quarterback, there's no reason to have him sit for the second real preseason. It's just an opportunity for him to sharpen up his skills and get prepared for his first guaranteed season as starter. Obviously, we're going to see Mack Kenny. We're going to see a little bit of Blaine Gabbert, but Kenny is the clear, defined backup, and Gabbert is competing for a roster spot. If he plays well enough, he will make the roster, but it's going to be a long shot. It's just an ability to have Brady in for a little bit, have Mack in for a little bit, and have Blaine take over responsibilities and be a body at quarterback for this team, someone who knows the scheme relatively well. On defense, we're not going to see a lot of Darius Motes for a very interesting reason. We want to see how Voorhees Priester does in that number 1 cornerback role. He won't be starting the season as a starter, most likely, depending on how he does in the preseason, but he definitely will be in consideration for that role as the season progresses a little bit. There's no reason to rush him when JT Ogletree and company have done a very good job filling out that other side of the field. Obviously, Darius Motes is the number 1 defined shutdown corner for this team, but that number 2 and slot corner roles are definitely up for debate. Ogletree struggled towards the end of the season after playing very well in his first 2 seasons. So it's one of those things that if he can pick himself back up, then there's no reason to rush Voorhees, but if not, then, well, we could definitely see Voorhees Priester taking over as a starting corner opposite of Darius Motes. The nickelback role is going to be really interesting. Basically, Malcolm Butler, Byron Jones, Brandon Boykin, and Tyler Gordon are all competing for that role. It's not defined by any means, but as of right now, it seems like Brandon Boykin is not in a position to be winning it. It seems like it's a 3-man race between Gordon, Jones, and Butler. Definitely interesting. Le'Veon Duncan is in that discussion a little bit, but his ability as a kick returner is a little bit too valuable to risk having him in coverage. So, with that being said, the team is kind of shaping up pretty well. And another two big, I guess, competitions would be that number 4 wide receiver role being a role fought out between guys like Chris Conley, Deshaun Cox, Rashad Cole, and Jeff Janis. And then, of course, Max Williams versus Tevin Culliver as the number 2 tight end already. And then on the flip side, we have, or I guess at tackle, while Alex Boone is starting to slow down a little bit, TJ Clemmings was very rough for us last season, so Felix Grant is going to get an opportunity to compete for that starting right tackle spot opposite of Boone. The interior of that offensive line is pretty much set. Freddie Young, Wes Dorsey, and Lael Collins making that up from left to right. And on the defensive side of the ball, outside of that, the rest of the positions are pretty clear-cut. Dallas Austin definitely holds that spot as Malcolm Butler breaks his upper arm. That is a terrible injury, and they're actually going to place him on IR with designation to return. But Malcolm Butler seems like he's out of the running for that number 2 or number 3 cornerback role, as that's some good experience right there. Justin Blackmon elevated over Voorhees Priester. It was a really good contested play, but Blackmon made an excellent play on the ball. So with Malcolm Butler injured. It seems like Boykin might have a little bit of an opportunity back into that number 3 role, that nickelback, but it might be a competition between Tyler Gordon and Byron Jones. In terms of defensive line, Zadale Hunt pretty much secured the starting DT spot. When there's a 4-3 front, it seems that it's going to be Ben Doyle at the nose. Obviously, Elgin Armstead is back on a 1-year deal. Mike Daniels on the opposite side. Before I get back to that, watch this play for Jomon Mason. Johns airs it up, one-handed grab, stiff arms away the defender after being interfered with, and he's going to waltz his way into the end zone. Little Jomon Mason going the distance. What an absolute stud at 5'8". I think Jomon Mason might be the perfect candidate to put in the slot as of right now, but man, he could line up wide and he could dominate. I think Kris Arnold's just a little bit better off the release, and for two small guys, I think that's kind of important. But Jomon Mason is so quick. He is so agile. Just an excellent, excellent player. Definitely so glad that we drafted him. But back to the linebackers. So it's going to be Dallas Austin and Aaron Lynch, the outside linebacker. In the interior, it's pretty much Eric Reid and Jawan Carey. But there is going to be a little bit of competition. Chris Kirksey, Tank Carter, DeMontre Austin, all can compete for that number 3 inside linebacker role. We don't need to carry more than that because of guys like Najee Simon and some other players that we picked up. Lorenzo Mauldin is a good backup outside linebacker, as is Jaron Elliott. We'll see which one of those guys makes an impact. And in terms of pass rush depth, Mario Edwards hopes to make a name for himself throughout this preseason, and we'll see what Denard Robinson versus Jay Ajayi can do. If Martwan Austin is good enough to be the third running back on roster, be a short yardage back, then we're good. Obviously, it would be good to have a backup third down running back, but Jamal Alden, Martwan Austin, both of them are pretty capable of being a backup third down running back. Jamal Alden is the clear-cut starter. Elgin is the clear-cut third down back as of right now. He'll get some reps running as well. So it'll be interesting to see as actually that's Ben Doyle. Ben Doyle getting in on the sack with that classic neck roll. Looking very solid. And Chris Conley has been phenomenal so far in this preseason for us. A big-bodied, fast wide receiver, can do a lot of really good things, and Jay Ajayi definitely has shown some potential as well. Not a great overall player, but he's solid. He can definitely do some things for us. And Mack Kenny showing that even though he might not be Brady Johns, he can still run with at least some relative ease. And in terms of the rookie wide receivers, the 5th round pick in Rashad Cole and the 7th round pick, DeJuan Cox, Cox has looked pretty good. Cole has had his moments, but neither of them have really stood out as anything great. They're both developmental wide receivers. I think if DeJuan could be a better catcher of the football, then things could be a lot easier for him because he does get some good separation, but he does struggle with catches in traffic. So, these are just things that he has to live with and hopefully improve upon. As Mario Edwards gets to the quarterback, he's having a really good preseason so far. And it seems that he's going to be locking himself up with a rotational pass rusher role at some point as he gets to the quarterback for the 3rd time in this game. So as we keep going, here's where something gets a little bit interesting. Obviously, by the way, the safeties are pretty much set. It's going to be Malcolm Jenkins and Jamal McNeal. But watch Austin Davis. He throws. It's picked off by Byron Jones, but he gets tackled in the end zone. They're actually going to rule it a safety. So we get the interception, but we give up 2 points on the play anyway. A little bit weird situation going on, but Byron Jones has looked spectacular in the secondary so far in this preseason. One little clip to show you. This is another right after that safety. Austin Davis rolls out, throws, and Antonio Moody going up the ladder and making the play over Brandon Coleman. That was insane. A one-handed jumping interception. Both of them reached out with one hand, but Moody was the one to haul it in. And the 49ers defense has looked pretty good so far in this preseason. Nothing too spectacular, but they've gotten the job done. One of the other players to watch is Max Williams. It doesn't seem like he's going to be beating out Tevin Culliver anytime soon, but Max Williams is definitely a good third tight end to have on roster. So the first thing that has to be done is Terrence Harper's getting cut. Just was not good enough. Got to make room. Next up, it seems that, well, we're going to have to cut another player because we have to cut the roster down to 59, I think it is. Somewhere in there. We're going to cut DeMontre Harmon. So Mario Edwards has beat out Harmon for that second role. We head to the third preseason game against the Broncos and Martwan Austin, getting some first-team reps. It's very interesting. 3rd and inches from the 45, and Johns is going to throw an interception. Just a bad pass, late throw over the middle. He has to refine himself in the game of turnovers. One of the biggest issues for him last season with a lot of fumbles. Mike Glennon, though, gives it right back. Jawan Carey playing really good zone coverage. Definitely an area of improvement for Carey if he can carry that into the regular season. Struggled in coverage a little bit. That's why Eric Reid was pretty much the primary linebacker last season. 3rd and 10, Rashad Cole getting some first-team reps, and that's going to be a first down. So Brady Johns is 4 for 5 to start things off, and we're really seeing some of these backup players get some good reps with Johns, because you know what? It's good to always prepare ahead. So we're going to have the quarterback, the number 1 quarterback, working with some of those second-team guys, trying to build some chemistry with them. 2nd and 11 from the 26, Johns fires it to DeJuan Cox, and Cox is going to pick up the first down out to the 5. We're going to jump all the way to the 3rd quarter. Blaine Gabbert is in with Jay Ajayi. Gabbert lofts it up for Rashad Cole, who makes the catch, and he's going to go the distance. So Blaine Gabbert with a nice touch pass. Unfortunately for him, I don't think he's put together enough on the preseason to warrant making the roster, but if he doesn't get picked up, he will always have a spot with the 49ers in terms of if somebody gets hurt. Byron Jones looking excellent in the secondary out wide. It seems that Byron Jones might have been able to secure that number 2 corner spot, or number 3 corner spot, as he gets another interception here. He has been all around the ball, playing absolutely phenomenal football for this team. And unfortunately for Tyler Gordon, I do not think that he's going to be able to maintain that 3rd cornerback role. It seems he's been upseated by free agent signing Byron Jones. And that was one of the interesting signings of the offseason, right? It was one of those players that he was hurt going into the offseason. The 49ers want to put some faith in him because they know how talented he is, and it proved to be worthwhile. Unfortunately, Jeff Janis just was not good enough for us. In this offseason, Chris Conley beat him out, as did DeJuan Cox and Rashad Cole. Jeff Fisher was kind of bad for us, so that's really not worth it. We're going to keep our guards intact for a little while. In terms of other cuts that we have to make, defensive tackle set. Jaron Elliott is okay for right now, but Tank Carter really didn't do all that much, so we're going to get rid of him. Obviously, no harm, no foul. Lorenzo Malden is fine. We're going to have to cut Deion Shed, who was the rookie free safety, undrafted free agent who we picked up. Matt Daniels has done a pretty good job as that backup role. But Deion Shed's gone. And we are going to cut Brandon Boykin. Boykin just has not been good enough for us, and that's going to be the end of his time with us, unfortunately for him. And we're going to place both Denard Robinson, who got hurt, knee cartilage tear, and Malcolm Butler on IR with designation to return because they were put on the IR in the preseason. Final preseason game. No Brady Johns, no real starters. We'll see some of them, but there's Martwan Austin, and Martwan Austin is going to get a first down on the ground. This is really his biggest opportunity to secure up a roster spot over someone like Jay Ajayi. Obviously, if he doesn't perform well enough, then Ajayi will probably make the roster as well, and they'll have to make a cut somewhere else. But if he can at least provide some sufficient performance, then there's no real need to have both of them on the roster, as Mack Kenny's going to overthrow Jomon Mason and Tevin Culliver there. Here's Bryce Petty in at quarterback for the San Diego Chargers. Melvin Gordon with the handoff, and Eric Reid cuts him off for a gain of only 1. 2nd and 9, Petty gives to Gordon, and this time it is Dallas Austin, the Texas Wrangler, in on the tackle. 3rd and 14 from the 16. Petty drops back, looks around, throws towards the sideline, and it's broken up. Tyler Gordon breaks it up in a last-ditch effort to try to make the roster as a starter. He won't be cut, This is his final year of his rookie contract, and he does have some value to us. But as of right now, it doesn't seem that Tyler Gordon really ever blossomed into the player that we wanted him to, and that's kind of unfortunate for us. Really talented player coming out of college, just never really got it all together, and it doesn't seem like he's going to be brought back after this season. But there's definitely some talent on this 49ers team in terms of depth, and Mack Kenny is making some good plays. There is Tevin Culliver, who has had an excellent preseason. While his routes do need some work, he is definitely a good player. And that's going to pretty much wrap up the preseason. We're going to take a look at the stats. But because Denard Robinson got put on IR, he will last on the roster. That is not good news for Jay Ajayi. Just because of the fact that Denard can't be cut, that means that someone else is going to have to get cut somewhere else. Most likely, there's no point in carrying 5 running backs, or even 4 in that instance if Denard could be back at some point. So Tevin Culliver led the way, 22 receptions, 255 yards in the preseason. Chris Conley, 16 receptions for 277. Did a really good job. As you can see, Nate Hill didn't have a reception. Elgin Armstead didn't have a carry. Just one of those things. And despite giving up one more sack, Felix Grant has won the starting job at right tackle. In terms of tackles for a loss, Tank Carradine played a lot, did a good job in terms of run defense. Wasn't a good enough pass rusher to warrant a full-time role, but he's definitely a good goal line run stopper. Mario Edwards had 6 sacks in the preseason. That is definitely enough to secure a roster spot, including a couple pass deflections, too. So overall, the 49ers preseason is over. Record doesn't matter. They got away with minimal injuries. 2 players that they signed this offseason are the only 2 players to get hurt, and they'll be back after a couple of weeks. They are on IR, though, so it'll be interesting to see if they need either of them. I can't imagine that Malcolm Butler would have made the roster otherwise. So with that being said, here are the final cuts. Blaine Gabbert is the first casualty as we get down to the 53-man roster. At running back, Martwan Austin showed enough that we most likely won't need Jay Ajayi. We're fine at wide receiver and at running back. John Miller, just not worth it having that many guards. We have enough centers that can play guard that it's just not worth it. Mario Edwards secured a roster spot. Tank Carradine's fine. Jaron Elliott just really didn't do enough for us in the preseason. We're going to get rid of him. Jaron Elliott. In terms of inside linebacker, Christian Kirksey is going to get cut as well. We're going to carry 3 middle linebackers. Remember that, of course, we do have Najee Simon, who can also play that position. Very interesting to note that he can play middle linebacker, so he's pretty good. We're not going to cut Tyler Gordon. We decided to hold on to him. We need to make one more big cut, and that cut is going to end up being, because we only need to cut 5 players because 2 are on IR. We don't want to cut Matt Daniels. We don't want to cut, obviously, Heath Jackson or Jamal McNeal. So we are going to come back, and we do have to cut Jay Ajayi, unfortunately. It's a bit unfortunate, but it had to be done. So that's the way the roster is going to shape up. So here is the depth chart going into Season 5. Brady Johns is the clear-cut starter over Mack Kenny. At running back, it's Jamon Alden. Martwan Austin is the number 2 running back with Elgin Armstead the number 3. Nate Hill, number 1. Arnold 2. Mason 3. Conley 4. Cox 5. Cole 6. It's Lauderdale, Culliver, then Max Williams. Alex Boone, going into his 11th season, is going to be the left tackle. Tremaine Curry is going to be a jack-of-all-trades, playing behind pretty much everybody. Freddie Young starting at left guard. Wes Dorsey at center, with DeAndre Pearson behind him. Lael Collins at right guard. Wes Schuler behind him at right guard. Felix Grant beat out TJ Clemmings for that right tackle spot. It's going to be Armstead and Daniels. It's going to be Sadale Hunt, followed by Ben Doyle and Shaquille Brown. At outside linebacker, it's Aaron Lynch. Inside linebacker, it's Reid and Carey, with DeMontre Austin at the number 3, Simon at the 4. Dallas Austin is the starting right outside linebacker. It's Motes, Ogletree, Byron Jones, Voorhees Priester, and then Tyler Gordon. Priester is definitely going to get into the rotation at some point this season. When is really based on JT Ogletree's performance. If Ogletree starts to fall off, we might move Byron Jones up to that number 2 spot and Priester into the nickel. We'll find out. But Le'Veon Duncan is the primary returner. And despite a rough preseason, we're sticking with Brandon McManus at pretty much everything. Wes Schuler is our long snapper, and Elgin Armstead is our 3rd down running back. Like I said, he'll get reps too. We're taking on the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. I hope you guys enjoyed. That game will be coming to you guys on Wednesday. I'm Moonlight Swami, and I'll be talking to you guys later. Peace!